Okay, so today I'm going to talk about J. Cole's new record called KOD, and he dropped it in the morning today on Tidal, which I use for music, and it is a pretty interesting project. When I heard it at first at the metro, I didn't hear all the instrumentals so well, so. I didn't get very much out of it, but when I listened to it more when I got home, I felt more into the project, and the songs could relate more to me. The intro is really about just. The intro is really just about how pain in your life is handled with like a wise perspective and wise perspective, and that you gotta choose the wise perspective. He tells the kids here, because the KOD title can also be like kids on drugs, it means. And in the intro that J. Cole dropped in yesterday, he explained how the title KOD is for this project, and it was like kill our demons and kids on drugs and one another theme that he brought up. The intro is really it has this really jazzy instrumentals like he used on the For Your Eyes Only project, which came out in December 2016. He has waited like 1.5 years to drop this project from the first the For Your Eyes Only project, and the intro really tells a story with this voice that is brought up into many more songs on this project, with like the intro on the Cut You Off track, and also on the ATM track. We got like Can It Up, Can It Up, Can It, which is the hook on the track, and also on the track Motivate. It is this like lo-fi instrumentals that he uses, and it's really good. So, but like J. Cole's instrumentals is like really lo-fi, and he doesn't do this like hype kind of music on this project, but it's more like he uses like lo-fi hip hop beats with like this almost vibrant, slow, chill instrumentals that makes J. Cole's lyrics more available in these songs. And so when I listened to the album again, I felt like the last 4 or 5 tracks, which is called Brackets, Friends, Once an Addict, and Window Pane, and also the track 1985, which is the closer of the album, which is the year that Cole was born. And he in these 5 tracks he talks about like his environment in Fayetteville, where he was grown up in North Carolina, and he talks about his mother on the track Once an Addict, where he tells a story about his mother's suicidal thoughts after her lover got the child with another woman. She became really depressed, and that affected Cole's perspective of his mom. So his mom was always confronting him with like the issues she had with his former ex-boyfriend, and this really affected Cole, that he saw like this pain in an early age. And also on the track Friends, he goes in another perspective, not with his mom but with his friends that like chose violence in Fayetteville, where he grown up. And he like everything that Cole's give advices to his friends, it seems like there's like just go into their heads and then they're just right out of the other head, and like that they like shooting people, and they all always blame either the government, the drugs, their family, the school system, and their lovers, and like they blame everything on everything else but themselves. And that also really is a very, very important theme to this album, that you gotta face your problems. Cole talks about in the intro that you gotta face your problems to get rid of them, and that you gotta choose wisely and not choose badly. What you do with this when you face this window of pains that like life is about, he says. And also the cover art is really interesting. It's really like Cole with this, like he doesn't have his pupils out on the cover, but it's like all these like visions and these colors around him. And then we see the demons, like killer demons that just like goes behind his coat. And then we see a kid that's smoking with the cap on, which is like he's mentioning like smoking very much here, and like drugs on the track. Kevin on the track Motivate, he talks about like smoking, and that and also on the track The Cutoff, which personally is one of my favorites on this album, which is the fourth track on the album. It's like this this very vibrant like voice that tells a theme throughout the story about like drugs and mental issues and his family, and how his friends deal with his issues, now his family deal with his issues, now himself dealing with all this like kids on drugs, which is around Cole, which is surrounding Cole's environment and mental state. So yeah. And another interesting track is Photograph, and the instrumental on this song is like very good. I think it is one of my favorites on this album with the instrumentals. We can listen to it.
Sense of humor. You don't get caught up in rumors. You don't be talking about who fucking who, and I notice the way you maneuver. Sexy but never show too much. Ain't heard from you in like 2 months. All of a sudden you pop on my line. You can make time, stop on a dime.
Yeah, so I really think like the instrumentals who open up this song is like, he talks about fell in love with Photograph and I didn't know your name. And yeah, that's the issue with the like the younger generation today, that like the photograph represents the name, but you don't really know the name of the photograph like you know the name of people in the real world. So and he also tells a story here that it is this girl that is really accepting many struggles in life, like she doesn't like rumors about who fucking who, and she doesn't like complain that much, and that he's like falling in love with this like photograph of her, like this person who just avoids like this pain, but keeps it inside of her instead. Like, she doesn't know the name of the photograph because she doesn't tell you about it. And yeah, so that is a really interesting track, and it also, like, the second track, which is KOD, Killer Demons, Kids on Drugs. So yeah, and he also uses like low-key trap samples and trap beats on this project. Like the photograph sample is like this very vibrant beat, and it has its snares and stuff, but I wouldn't call it a trap beat. It's just like these lo-fi beats that he uses, like almost chill hop, like almost not very hype production on this thing, but more like this slow production where you can like rap over this like almost underground beats that doesn't do very much, I think. And I think the beats are very good, but it isn't like a wow experience like Kendrick's beats on the almost the track DNA, which is this like hype beat that you don't find anywhere else. And I think like many of the beats that Cole uses here is beats that you can find on like chill hop, and that it is beats that is good, but it doesn't do very much for a bigger listening experience. But I think the ending of this album is very strong. I think from the track Brackets, he tells a story about like killing his demons and the kids on drugs, both in his with his friends and with his mother and with himself, and yeah, with his like wondering about how he can deal with the pain that life brings you. And the weirdest moments on this track I find on Kevin+s Heart, which is the 7th track on this album, and he's like beginning to use these ad-libs like skirt and smoke during this song. And I think the song is very strong in the beginning, but I find it really odd that Cole uses this in this type of song. But I think like if he had used this type of ad-libs in another song, it would be worse. But I also find it interesting that Cole uses this repetitive hooks on this album, like motivate, and on the ATM track, can it up, which he also had a music video for. You gotta check that out. And also the instrumentals on Motivate is very nice, I think, personally. You can listen to it. It's a very nice sample on this track as well in the ending. And yeah, he uses this. This getting money. He says throughout this track. This is very simple, simple instrumental, but get money, yeah. That have get money, motivate, get money, and it's really a like childish feel, but it sounds like Kids on Drugs when you listen to it. Like it is repetitive, but it has this like childish, really attractive feel as well. And yeah, I personally find this track the oddest, the Motivate and the Kevin+s Heart track. But the instrumentals on the Kevin+s Heart track is like less odd, but we can listen to that as well because yeah, it's very slow. That's very good at it.
I stare at the screen a while before I press decline. But she plants a seed and it still lingers in my mind. Told myself I'm strong enough to shake it and I'm trying. But I'm only human, I know loving you's a crime. If I take this cookie now, one day I'll do the time. Slip me a Sandy at once, nobody, I got the...
Yeah, I got a earth in the blunt, and then he's like mentioning his drugs again, and it's like, I think, I think I really understand like the captions of this album more when I re-listen to it in this many ways, because it is, when you look at the track list, like the Motivate track has an 8 in, and Cole was born in 1985. So it is a nice touch to the album structure as a whole, and also the intro. The intro really like simplifies Cole going into life, and the ending is like he telling his story about it, how like his life has developed from his birth, and but I find it really hard to get something really special out of this project, but I almost can say that I enjoy all the tracks and I like all the tracks, but there is not like many tracks on this album that does something more for me, in where I like have this like wow feeling when I listen to it, like I get on like the Kendrick Lamar songs often, like on Fair, for example, but also the track brackets. It's and the track Cut It Off is almost the highest points on this album, I think. And we can listen to those two tracks because I think it is one of the best on this album. First, the Cut It Off track. Yeah, I know heaven is a mind state. I've been a couple times. That is nice touch, I think. Stuck in my ways, so I keep on falling down. I never fantasize about murder cause I'm still sane, but I can't seem to fight this urge to make you feel pain. I know that vengeance is the Lord's and it's not for me. Yeah, I know that vengeance is the Lord and it's not for me. I know the punishment for you is that you're not with me. Yeah, so the punishment for you is that you're not with me. And it seems like Cole is like on a higher, unlike he has been accepted and his friends is trying to be accepted. So it's like that different as he is like has come further away from this environment in the hood, and that he almost feels like he is like the bigger brother that always like provides motivation to do something more, and that his friends is like not come to that place yet, and that they're stuck in their race because the advices that they get just goes out here and out here, and then they like flourish in the air. So I think to round up this album review of J. Cole's KOD album that dropped today, I think J. Cole really uses very, I would say, not very offensive type of ways to improvise his songs, but it's like very safe way of hip hop beats that he is very like nostalgic and melancholic to like rap over it. He tells a story over it, but it doesn't do something like more like a track that Cole provided, which the beat is like doing something very nice, is A Tale of Two Cities, where the beat is so vibrant and is so hype, and it like gives you this feeling that you, yeah. And also the song Immortal from his last album, For Your Eyes Only, I think that miss on this album that it isn't just a very hype song. The KOD song, it's really, it has this where Cole is rapping very fast in like the 5th verse or something on there, and the hook is like something you can like vibe to at the concert, but I doesn't think that Cole provides enough enough experiments, and he doesn't experiment with himself so much in the instrumentals, but lyrically Cole is very good, and his rhyming schemes is very on point, and he uses these repetitive hooks like on ATM and Motivate, but and he has these like voices that just tell these stories of kids on drugs, smoking, drinking, his mom having smoking issues and drinking issues, his friends having issues with guns and with drugs and blaming themselves on the system and all that stuff. And that he says in the track window pane, I think, that we may never have a black president again. And also he mentioned Obama on his last album with the song Neighbors. And Cole, he also mentions Trump here, and he gets more political and more woke in the sense of the society in the later parts of the album. But in the first parts he talks more personal, like the Photograph track, the KOD track, and also the Cut You Off track is like it's much Cole. But then when you get further into the album after the Kevin+s track, I would say the song Brackets and the song Window Pane and the Once an Addict and Friends, he begins to talk more about issues in society and issues with like environments in general, and with like providing a good life depends on which road you take, really. And to blame something of everything that you do wrong without blaming yourself and without seeing your own problems, you won't get far. And that is like the role that J. Cole has. He tries to provide for the weaker people in society. I think they're not like in the sense that they are weaker, because they're all equal, and Cole's mind state is like he's a human being. He tells Marcel that he's human and that he is like in the same level, but I think he feels like he has a responsibility that he can't, like, he has issues with trying to like be this big brother for his friends and his mother, and going through seeing all these people that he loves going through pain. And yeah, he also mentions his girlfriend and this life that he lives in private, and that he's like having this constant fight with himself. But yeah, I think to round it up is it's yeah, it's an album that I think it's I would hope for Cole to like challenge himself a little bit more, because I think but his greatest tool is really the storytelling and the relatability that he gets really good on in the later parts of this album. And the song Photograph is more abstract, but it's also very relatable, and he takes up social media issues like he does on For Your Eyes Only. And he's trying to tell a story from a community type of level, and he tells his story, but I didn't like change my opinion on Cole's music in the way that it provides something more for me with this album coming. I think his type of production is a bit like it doesn't do much. Even though it's good production, it doesn't give you that like wow feeling, and that is something that I don't get much from Cole. I I get like this melancholic vibes where he's like rhyming, he tells a story, and he sticks to kind of a theme, but it doesn't do much more. But I can't say I dislike any song because it's very listenable music, but I think Cole is an artist that does this type of relatable storytelling in a very good way, but he does it in kind of the same way, and I felt a little bit yeah, it was a big hole that he doesn't talk about, I think, and it provides something that couldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's surfer level, but it isn't. It isn't this like shoutings and this emotional feelings in any other track than his track Friends. But his track Friends, it's also one of the best here because of his like anger on that track, where he's like goes off against his friends and he's getting angry of this like big brother role that is getting providing for them, trying to help them, but it's like goes there and out, and they keep doing the same road because they can't choose wisely, and they're kids on drugs, and they can't kill their demons, and they can't provide their demons to, and they can't like challenge themselves to get rid of these demons and find a better life. So yeah, I don't have how much more to say. I think I like slipped through like I couldn't really collect my thoughts in the end of this review, but I hope you like enjoyed it in some way, and that it gave you another perspective of the album. But I think J. Cole's KOD album is a very good listen, but it isn't an exceptional listen, but it is a very good listen. For the production is very vibrant and very chill. It's very chill, but it doesn't do something more, and that I lacked from this album. But the lyrics, very on point. He tells a story, but I think he could go more into his yeah, he's a very good rapper, and he shows it especially on tracks like Friends and KOD, where he's like rapping very, very on point, both lyrically and storytelling and rhyming scheme. He is very on point with the beat and with his confidence. But on some of the tracks here, it's like I get kind of an XXXTentacion feeling some way here on the tracks like Motivate, and also another track here. I think it's Kevin's Heart, that I get this like XXXTentacion type of vibe, and he uses this sound that is really sleepy, but I doesn't think he's doing it as well as XXXTentacion on his songs like The Remedy of Love, The Remedy of a Broken Heart, and songs like Everybody Dies in Nightmares, which is just like very flow tracks that is flowing. And I think Cole is doing it pretty nice on some of these tracks, but I think the more powerful voice of J. Cole is when he like spitting with a high volume and not with a low flow volume like artists like X does. So, but I think it's cool that he uses some of the elements from new artists that's making waves, and yeah. But to round this up, I would give J. Cole's KOD